Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely, and we are here at the Open at Austin, presented by Flight Factory. Thanks, guys. I'm here with Andrew Fish and Harper Thompson. But we're going to play a practice round out here. We're going to talk about some of the strategies the pros are thinking while we're out here competing, and just give you a little more than just throwing great shots. All right, thanks, guys. All right, hole one, 400 feet, OB before, OB right, OB long, and OB left. What are you thinking here?
I mean, you say all that, but they're actually not that much in play. This is about the friendliest starting hole we've played on tour this year. So throw a shot, fairway driver, distance driver. Some players might go mid. I think the idea is just put it right of the basket, let the natural skip take it there. Get yourself on the board to start.
I agree. This is the one of the only holes where the goal is just to throw it to the basket. But honestly, that's about it. Wow.
Oh, fishy. Oh, fish. Here. Let's go back down.
All right, hole two, 715 feet. And instead of being redundant every hole, I'll just say one time. OB right, OB left, OB long. Do you have a specific play here?
Yeah, unlike hole one, this one's not so forgiving. If you go too far right, you're easy to find out of bounds. If you go too far, you're likely to find the same thing. So I'm going with a forehand off the tee, not trying to bite off too much, but just get around the corner up there.
Yeah, I think this is most of the pros are probably not going to try to risk the OB to get an extra 40 feet because you're only like 350 out if you're in the safe zone. So you can pretty conservatively get to that 350 range, which is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, you just don't want to be pinched off short of the corner. As long as you get past there, you're good.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going backhand. I don't know if you can. I like that one.
So this is actually an unusual example. If you see a player throw out of bounds, it's more than anything a mental error because you have a big landing area. You're trying to bite off too much. It's big enough to pretty much be 100% if you're playing, center of the safe area. Oh my God. It's safe up there. Good job. Right? Hole three, 360 feet, uphill into a headwind. I think we agree it's far.
It's far.
It's far. OB to the left is hard to come into play, but what are you thinking here?
I think you're going to see forehands, backhands, and rollers. I'm going to go roller. because if I throw it long, it just curls up into a bowl behind the basket. And that prevents the disc from tracking into the right side stuff, which is, it's basically out of bounds.
Right. Well, I was actually thinking since the right side isn't marked out of bounds, there's a little more, you can be a little bit more aggressive.
But you want to do it late. You don't want to do it early.
Yes, you do. So this is a tough hole. This is in this condition, it's a big arm hole.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy getting a par in this hole in these conditions.
If I par it, I want it to be a drop-in par. Basket's kind of perched on a ridge as well.
So yeah, there you go. An easy par. Settle for easy par, not a hard par. Fair.
What did I say? What did I say?
But watching how fast that went, that makes me feel the hole's reachable.
It is. So
even right now.
It needs to be vertical at the tree on the left.
Yeah.
If I do that, then it's a birdie look.
Okay. If the left will be in play if you don't get it over? Just throw, okay.
All right.
That's the flippiest disc I got. I think I need to get one of those roller discs.
It's up there.
All right, hole 4. This is one of the iconic holes out here, I suspect. 460 feet downhill. OB surrounding the green. OB short, not necessarily in play. What are you thinking?
Yeah, a lot of players are going to go with overstable approach discs or mid-ranges down the hill. 460 really plays more like 370, and you really want to avoid going OB left. Once you're fading down that hill, they tend to really skip left towards that out of bounds.
And I'm going to say something crazy here, but I've been thinking about this. We played this hole 3 times. Everybody throws like 5 shots up here. When you land right, there's a hill. If you're too far right, it's going to stick on the hill. You crest the hill by a little bit, it's skipping far left. I have seen probably 3-to-1 discs out of bounds, as in the circle. I think I might actually play this hole for par 3 times if the wind's blowing right to left like this. Just a thought. Crazy thought?
Basically, you just want a disc that kind of basically breaks flat and then fades right before it gets to the basket. I think that's the way to really park this hole.
All right, see, that's the younger players versus the older players and 2 different perspectives on it, but we'll see how it goes.
Like a flex that kind of holds, and then breaks at the last second. I think that's the way to do this.
Okay, I'm going to try to play for par. I'm going to try to throw it out to the right. All right, hole 5 is 520 feet. I think this is one of the best holes out here. I would love your opinion on it. But basically, you have the risk reward. You have the water, OB clear with a safe area on the right. You can push it long, OB left. I mean, I think this is a great design.
I agree. I think it can play soft if the wind is down, but right now we've got a headwind. It's going to be really challenging to get all the way to the green for an eagle look. This gives players a chance to make a golf decision. Are you going to go aggressive, or are you going to play an aggressive layup, or are you just going to try to chip 2 equal shots?
Yeah, and I think one of the strategies here is that if you're playing it safe, which I think a lot of people will, I certainly will in this wind, you don't have to get close to OB. It's almost like, again, OB would be a mental error because you can be 70 feet right of OB and you're still inside at 300 up and down. So there's no real benefit to risking that OB early. So it's just, it's almost like if you're going to be conservative, be conservative. Like commit to that shot.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. I love it. Let's see it. Oh my God. Scoop! Like, that's the perfect example of what I said. You know, it's a mental error. Hole 6, par 4, 535 feet. It's an interesting hole because you can't really strategize the second shot because it's going to be play it where it lies and see what opening you have. There's not a defined landing area, but the drive has some questions. OB on the right. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the OB is really tight on the right side. If you get a kick or you have a shot that turns over a little bit too much, you're sure to find the OB. I feel like there's two main lines. There's kind of a backhand up the middle, but it's a really awkward line, I feel like. And then there's also a sidearm out to the left side. I feel like not that many players will take it, but it's still an option.
Yeah, I mean, it is really, I mean, in theory, it's a backhand hole, except the early tree does make you, forces you to do like the hyzer flip up as opposed to the straight anhyzer. And one of the things that I think a lot of the pros will be thinking, if they have a balanced game, is which way is my disc going to kick if it hits a tree, which definitely this is a backhand hole. My sidearm's heading towards OB, but I'm just going to throw it straight, hope it gives me a good area. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is a tricky one. God, that is so good, isn't it?
Yep.
Or is it, oh, it's, no, it's right. That must be out of bounds.
I feel like that's safe, but geez, that was... Oh. I feel like we should definitely like stop and talk about the second
That's the side. I don't know. I wouldn't even be called. I wouldn't even call it a bad break because I'm spinning it the wrong direction. Fairway of hole 6. We're going to talk about with the approach shot. You had some ideas?
Yeah, so this is where like the good drives are going to end up. I threw a putter off the tee. You can see there, depending on where you are by a few feet, you either have a clear lane to the basket or a really tight shot. Either way, even from this distance, this is going to be a really technical approach.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's trying to land it here to be in front of the window when this one's not. I think you're trying to get out here into this area. And if you do that 3 times, maybe you'll get 1 or 2 windows to the hole.
I totally agree.
But it's almost like pretending the trees aren't here and just put it there and you're happy.
It's all about scrambling and adapting to wherever you land.
It is.
Thank you.
All right, world champion Isaac Robinson and Cole Redolin, Leadstone champion. On this hole, are you specifically trying to land in a spot that you know there's a lane? Or are you thinking, just stay away from OB, get out here, and then play it wherever it lands?
I know, I'm thinking just get through that gap and don't go OB.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm trying to push it kind of towards this middle tree here, and I'll have some sort of backdoor, or even this one through the middle. But I think most importantly, it's staying out of the OB.
Okay, all right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Hole 7, 305 feet. Almost a traditional golf hole. You can see it a good local course, except there's out of bounds on the right because there has to be that one extra, make it hard for us. What do you think?
Yeah, low ceiling is a real big factor here, and there's one tree that's right in the middle where all of us are kind of pointing our shot.
Right.
As a consequence, you're going to see flip-ups and force-overs, whether it's forehand or backhand. And then I don't really know what kind of ground play you're going to get because the mulch can be a little erratic on the finish.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those. It's almost like hole 1. You're kind of just going for the birdie, and then if you're not close, lay it up.
Exactly.
Okay. Not the most stinking hole, but still a good hole. I would be totally happy with that. Hole 8, par 4, 570 feet. It sounds redundant when I say OB on the right, OB on the left. This course is not repetitive, right? I mean, there's a lot of variety here.
Yeah.
So the similarities actually would be misleading because the holes are a good variety. But there's trouble everywhere. What are you thinking on this one?
I will say the place where the course does seem, I wouldn't say repetitive, but there are a lot of forehand friendly shots, this being one of them.
Oh no, I'm going to send an angry letter.
So I think the main play here, a lot of people are going to go around the outside with a stable forehand, get through, skip to the right, and then this gap is a really nice, it's just dead straight the whole way, no fairway trees, and depending on what position you are, you might have to throw a patent pending or just dead straight. Really good, challenging hole.
Yeah, in contrast to the hole a couple holes ago, it's a tough shot, but there is a defined landing area here. You definitely have an area that's reasonable to try to go for, that if you land, and you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah, I'd say ground play is really big on this hole, especially on the drive. Like, I'm going really fast and overstable to kind of hit on the left side, get a big flare skip, and put myself in the right position.
Yeah, so, yeah, but there's a shot here to throw 2 good shots. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, so close.
That's really good. I would love to do that tomorrow. I think the big thing is that you like hole 9, 745 feet. We're going to do this one in 2 parts too, because the second half of this hole is radically different. So let's just talk about the tee off. You got, what did it say, 345
Just to carry
on the
into
left
it.
side.
Yep.
If you're right, you're 360 or 370, but it's slightly uphill with a ceiling. Are you thinking anything special, or just throw it hard?
You got to get your tee shot in bounds. Otherwise, you're just playing to a drop, or you're going to a drop zone. The hole's hard enough. So get your tee shot in bounds and then figure it out from there.
Are you actually thinking left side to cut off the distance, or are you just thinking that's even too much to process? Just make sure you throw it hard.
I want left side to open up the angle into the green.
Okay, so you
If
like
I'm
left
too
side
far,
for both.
if I'm too far right, then I have to go out around. The
Okay, so double benefit to push it. So you are thinking left.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, let's see
But
it.
we have a crosswind right now. It's going to be hard to get left enough and get the distance.
Yeah, this is so deceptive. Like when people watch on coverage, it's like, oh, 350 feet to carry. Oh, they can all do that. There's going to be players in the MPO that are coming up short.
Mhm.
Absolutely, every round, it's harder than it looks.
Yes, unquestionably.
All right.
Yeah.
That's not over. I've thrown 3 times and haven't thrown over. So we're heading to the green, and there's OB. Is it fair to say everywhere?
Oh yeah, this is a skinny little
It
peninsula.
is a skinny little peninsula. Is there a safe shot here? I mean, would you even consider pitching up here? Or are you attacking from here all day?
I think at my skill level, the idea is I'm trying to throw it to the basket, but if I go out of bounds, I want it to get the full distance.
Okay.
So I want to push it straight and then break right. If I go OB right, OB long, I can live with that.
Right. Okay. So then, which is a putt for par, but a bogey at worst. It's just not a blow up.
Right. If you try to lay up, there's not that much room there, and then you still have 200 feet in. That's tough.
Yeah. No, I looked at that too. The layup is not a gimme. if it was a gimme approach, I would maybe even consider it, but there's not really anything to gain. Not much. I agree with you, but yeah, this is wonderful. Like this is like I love this green.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
And the better you throw your drive, then the better your angle, the shorter your approach.
Right.
This really rewards a good 2-shot execution.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great hole. I don't want to cut it too close though.
I'm
Hole 10, 315 feet into an island green, a pretty darn big island green.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, so honestly, it is an island green, but the drop zone is only about 40 feet and there's really no danger to it. So, and like you said, it's a big green. So a lot of players, this is kind of a must get, I feel like, especially in the context of the rest of this course. 315 feet, for most people, it's going to be an overstable forehand.
Yeah, I mean, there's no benefit to playing this hole conservative. The basket's not even that near the out of bounds, so every single player is going to be trying to birdie it. And if you happen to mess up, you might save. The one thing I will say, because I'm going to be throwing a thumber all day, because the sidearm, I mean, there's a side, you can get there with the sidearm, but you can't swing the wide stalling sidearm. It's actually a little deceiving. If you pull it too wide, you're going to not make the island. So I just like the thumber because it controls distance so easily.
Yeah, and as someone who's throwing the sidearm, to avoid going wide, like Scott was saying, I'm throwing more of a flex with a really overstable disc, so I'm able to come into the green with that hyzer angle without the width.
Which is which is correct, for sure.
Thank you.
Ooh, that's the first one out of bounds, but by the way, you'll still get hole 11, 8,000 feet.
8,000.
Well, in European feet.
Yeah.
No, it's a 1,000-foot par 5. Big giant landing area, but the fastest fairway in disc golf. Would you agree?
It's very fast.
Okay, so how do you play this differently? By the way, by fast we mean you come in, you land in the middle, and you skip out of bounds like 90 feet to the side. So what are you doing, playing it differently or just hoping it doesn't happen?
I think there's a couple ways you can approach it. So let's say we're throwing a backhand. You try to land it on the right third of the fairway so that you play for that run.
Sure.
Or I think what a lot of players are going to do is either disc down or try to put some flex on their disc so that it comes in and lands flatter rather than on a skippy angle.
But that makes it harder to aim.
Yep.
So you have to play it. So it's actually, I kind of like, I like how fast it is. It adds an element that isn't there. Without the fast, everybody's safe. 98%.
Mm-hmm. With the counterclockwise spin, if you're throwing a forehand or a lefty backhand, you've got a lot more width that you could play a spike. The hole's only 1,000, so if you break it up into 3 manageable shots, it's very doable.
Yep. And I'll give one more for older players, is that I got to give a shout out to my older peeps. No, on a long hole like this, I'm not even throwing a drive because I'm not going to learn anything new on this hole, and I have a pitch count in my arm. So a lot of times for me, if there's like a long par 5 without a lot of obstacles or landing areas, there's no reason to throw it more than once for me.
And bear in mind, this is the man who tried to birdie a downhill hole under his leg. That's his pitch count.
That's my pitch count. See that? Is that good?
Watch out. It's a fairway.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's so stalled.
But look at that. I mean, even that was like
Close.
early.
Close.
Like that was really, I don't want to say.
Wow.
So it does not get a whole lot easier from here. The narrowing fairway, obstacles, hazards, OB both sides, fast green. Are you thinking, well, what are you thinking?
Well, so I threw a pretty good shot, but I'm still probably 600 away from the basket. That means it's too much to try to carry the out-of-bounds golf green and the bunker. Therefore, I have to play a hyzer spike onto a downslope with the wind pulling it that way as well. Makes this very challenging.
Would you consider pitching up 200 feet, safe, short of the because it comes to a little like bottleneck? Would you consider pitching up short of the bottleneck and then just leaving yourself like 400 in?
That's a good thought, because that is very similar to what last year's hole 2 was. Like, that bottleneck is where good drives were landing at that point.
Really?
And the green is a lot easier to get into than the second landing zone.
Yeah, one of
So
the things.
Scott just saved me half a stroke.
You're welcome. And well, also, this is definitely you're coming into the green with a backhand.
Yep.
For sure. It's not a sidearm entry, so you have to consider that as well. Certainly, I got to consider that I need to be close enough to get my backhand there. It's good. This is a nice par 5.
Another golf decision hole.
It is definitely a decision.
It's upsetting that I didn't even think of this, given that that's where last year's shots were.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
Oh boy. There.
Oh, you said just past the bunker. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a nice little hole. Hole 12, 375 feet, double Mando off the tee, and OB right, and then you got to get uphill at the end. When I first played this hole, I was actually thinking that I'm almost playing for par because I thought I couldn't, not that I couldn't reach it, but that I have to throw too hard. It's actually a realistic distance to get there.
Yeah, I'd
think?
say for 375 it plays long, which is why, it probably seemed that way at first. So a lot of players I think are going to be going with distance driver. I think it's because of the low ceiling and the stability you have to get left to get to the basket makes it play in the lower 400 range.
Yeah, I threw a destroyer that went out the back of the circle, and it's not like it was some perfect miss everything shot. It was just kind of hit the fairway. So it's uphill, and yet it plays shorter than it seems maybe.
Yeah, and
Almost.
I'd say another thing you want to keep in mind on this hole, it's really easy to push kind of long right out of bounds. Definitely the miss you want to have is short left. You have an uphill
That's
putt,
easy
all
par.
pretty safe.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it. Show me. You're in charge.
Hit the big tree.
Uh-oh. Um, 410-foot carry over OB. This one does give you the option of laying up safe, which I don't think anybody's going to do unless conditions. You never know. But with OB long, and then you got to get around a big old fat tree that wants to kick you back out of bounds. What are you thinking?
This is a lot like hole 1 in the shape, the distance, but
Yeah,
there's a lot
that's
more
true.
danger associated with it. My attitude is, if I'm going OB, it's going to be long. I am not going to come up short
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
bring that tree into play.
Yeah, that's. Do you think that? I mean, when you're thinking, you don't want to ever think negatively, but realistically, you're thinking, if I go OB long, it's a bogey. Yeah, live with a bogey.
That's the practice round mitigation strategy. You think about these things and say, well, if I am throwing 3 from the drop zone only 100 feet away, that's a problem. If I'm up on the green putting for my par, I can live with that.
Right.
If I'm going to make a mistake. So you think negatively and then reframe it to what you want to do and how you're going to aim the shot during the tournament.
All right. So along this same idea, then I have a question for you. There's not a hole on this course without out of bounds, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say nobody plays without out of bounds. I just don't think it'll happen. Do you go into a mindset of, 2 out of bounds that round's pretty darn good, that's okay? Like, so when you go out of bounds, you're like, that's just one of my OBs, I'm expecting it? Or is every OB still kind of cringy?
I think it depends on the quality of the out of bounds, right? So what I'm talking about is if I go OB on that green and I have a 70-footer for my par, really the worst I can ever take is a bogey, okay?
Right.
If I come up way short and I have to go to the drop zone, I'm bringing more into that. The quality of my out of bounds is worse.
Okay.
On the previous couple holes, if I throw out of bounds and I have gotten the full distance out of it, at least I threw a 400-foot shot. But if I go straight out of bounds and never come back in, I'm only advancing a little bit.
Right, so it's just a strategy of if I'm going to fail the right way.
Right, and like this is an example where the Winthrop course for USDGC really advanced how players approach that because it's just there. You have to embrace the out of bounds and embrace the chaos that comes with that.
See, I'll just get it to make this will be a little bit longer, but I think it's interesting. I did that when I went to the tournament when I was in Croatia last year, where I went into it and my goal, my strategy was, if I can bogey twice per round, I'm going to be in contention, which almost sounds negative because I'm conceding those bogeys. But to me, the mindset of playing for 2 bogeys was my level of aggressiveness.
Mm-hmm.
You think of it the same way? Like accepting OBs is your level of aggressiveness almost.
Yeah, it can be. Like sometimes you're going to skip, sometimes you're going to roll.
Right.
Those weird things happen. And the way that many disc golf course designs are set up, in order to score, you have to go out of bounds sometimes.
Right.
There's a sweet spot. Like you can kind of see the correlation of like Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heimberg. They play so pedal to the metal that out of bounds are a part of the game, but it's not the defining thing where they're doing it on every other hole.
Right. I gotcha. Cool, man. I love it. It's really smart. All right, let's see it.
No skip.
Oh, that is the best throw I've thrown today. Easily, that was the best throw. Hole number 14, 545 feet par 4. Again, I say OB left, OB right, but it's not that, like it's still a different shape. And then it opens up into a really nicely placed hole. In fact, I want to talk to you about the fairway on this one as well, because it's a whole strategy there. What are you thinking on the tee pad of this one?
So actually, this is one of the few holes where I feel like there's 3 prominent options. There's the right-hand gap where you want to throw a flat backhand that kind of fades left at the end. You've got the left side gap where someone can either throw kind of a flat forehand that flexes out or a backhand flip up. And then there's also the over-the-top line, which if you throw a backhand with an overstable disc, you can kind of stall and crash into where the right-hand gap backhand shots go. So it's one of the holes where there's really a lot of options here.
Yeah, and I could dream of throwing that shot at this point. But no, I agree. Some people are going to throw over the top. I don't want to name names because I don't want to put it in their heads, but I could think of a couple people that's what they'll probably do.
Yep.
And probably succeed at it.
Yep.
All right, well then, let's see it. Oh no, isn't that exactly what I did last time? And it goes out of bounds. I think this is one of the coolest greens because there's no obstacles by the basket, and it's tricky for about 4 different reasons. So tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'd say one of those main reasons that I've noticed is if you're coming in a little bit too hot, the green behind is really fast. And especially if you're throwing a forehand, it trickles to 40 feet right off the bat.
And if you come in short, you don't make it up the hill. If you go right, you land in the sand trap. I guess that's 3 things about it. No, but I mean, this is what I think like a pro tour green should be, which is like, there's no one in the world, there's not a single player in the field when they're here, if they throw an approach shot and get up and down, aren't like super happy about it. Even though it's 240 feet wide open, everyone's satisfied with this birdie from here.
Yeah, it definitely really favors like a touch forehand with a nice approach disc that kind of sticks the green.
Yeah, I love it though. It's really, really, really well done. Yeah, like if you do that in the tournament, you're super happy. Hole 15, 345, pretty much. Again, this is, you've been getting a lot of the real straightforward holes. This hole is fairly traditional, straightforward. It's a lefty hyzer, bat ready anhyzer, OB to the right, OB long, but not a lot of strategy, or is there?
I think there is. It really
Okay,
depends on the
okay.
wind. You know, Scott, you're going to look at this every time and see forehand.
Right.
I'm a backhand player, so this is going to put me between putter, mid, and fairway, depending on which direction the
Okay.
wind is going.
That's fair.
Additionally, the tee pad is a little bit offset from the basket, so you can't just throw straight at it. And like, that's a real subtle thing. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it means that you can't just point and shoot. You have to put a little bit of edge on your disc.
All right, so I had a question for you personally. Do you throw, I mean, you can throw 345 sidearm.
If I really get on it, but I usually have
you-
to go a little more understable to do that.
All right, so so the backhand, since you don't have to put 100%, is just,
Correct.
it's still more controlled.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah. I think there's a dream world in which a forehand turns this into a one-angle shot,
Right.
but I am not at the level of consistency that I
Right.
think I want to do that 3 times in a row.
Look, I do the same thing. I throw backhand sometimes, or throw sidearm sometimes, where it's like, they're like, isn't that a backhand hole? My answer is yes. What's your point? So, no, I get it. No, cool, man. Let's see it. Oh, that helped.
And then it's funny because I actually
I do not know the results of this experiment because we are at hole 16, par 3. It says 375 feet. I am positive it's not 375 feet. I'm positive it's 350. But we're going to go to science in a second. But what do you think? I mean, there's OB left of the hole, the bunkers, but they're reasonable distance.
I'd say for anyone who has a solid sidearm on tour, this hole is brainless. I think it's a one-angle hyzer. The distance, like we said, is not that bad. If you've got a solid sidearm, I would call this one of the more brainless holes on the course.
You're right. The distance isn't that bad. I mean, it's 350 feet. It's a reasonable distance for a sidearm. The results
Fish?
are in. Fish, how far is the hole?
377
It is not.
is.
Oh, my gosh.
But still, brainless for most of the top tier sidearm throwers.
Okay. All right. So I stand here humbled and still sure that I'm right. I think that's on it. All right, so this is hole 17. It's an interesting hole because this is one of those holes where they push one of the two baskets back another 100 feet, but it's for the FPO and they add a par. And I personally think they knocked it out of the park with this one. I think they got it right.
I think it works.
It does work, right? So, you know, again, it sounds so familiar. There's OB on the left, through the woods. But what do you do here?
Sure. So there is a mandatory that forces you to the left, and the first couple trees on the right side necessitate a shot that starts straight, travels right, finishes back to the left. Most righty backhand players are going to throw some kind of force over rather than playing a hyzer flip. So you can't push too deep into this gap, otherwise you're inviting the left side out of bounds.
Yeah, and again, I love the fact that for FPO, they could have moved the basket shorter, but if they move it shorter, they're not utilizing the fact they have a really nice natural second shot. Like they wouldn't be taking advantage of the terrain. So it's outside the box. It's not completely original, but it's not common. Not so common, but I think it, yeah, they A+ on this one.
Yep.
Speaking of randomness,
I wasn't getting there.
This guy got to. All right, hole 18, 685 feet. This, honestly, I feel like it's one of the best finish holes in the game. If you're standing on this tee pad with a 2-stroke lead, you are not counting your chickens yet. And it's perfect because you can line the whole fairway with spectators with a view. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's rare that you get a wooded finishing hole with the ability to have a gallery down the fairway, and that's awesome. And like you said, it's terrifying, it's daunting, and there's a lot of stroke swings that could happen here.
Yeah, so I think this should be an exciting finish. I think
Definitely.
If you're leading by 3, you're only mostly confident. I still like it's tough.
Yeah.
All right, let's see it.
Sorry. Try.
Probably. Okay, so the nice thing about this hole is that if you throw a good drive, you have such an easy shot to the basket. Am I right?
Relatively, I'd say.
He says relatively. I say not at all.
No, I mean, it's really technical at the end, low ceiling, and honestly, you're pretty far from back here. So
No, but gettable. I mean, if you need to 2 this hole, you can be attacking for 2 all day. There'll be 2s out here for sure. I'm saying 2 shots to get to the hole. I don't mean getting a 2.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm saying. Two shots to get to the hole. Look, I've crossed that invisible line where I can say things wrong and you go, he's old. So,
yeah,
two throws.
Really tough birdie on this one.
It is. But like I was saying, you can definitely get there in 2 shots. No, it's great. So one thing I will point out, I love about this hole, is off to the left here. I guess that was out of bounds last year. They moved out of bounds back, which is great because you don't need artificial out of bounds when you have this. It's a natural out of bounds. Like, it's natural. So I think that's cool because, you can get some scrambled hero shots.
Eight. I'm like.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. That was a lot of fun. I always love playing with you, and it was love getting to know you. It's kind of the fun of the tour. Like, I get to hang out with old friends, but then make new friends. It's really, honestly, probably the best thing about being out here. Overall, what did you think? Like, what do you think of the course?
I think it's an improvement over last year's layout. There's only 6 holes that are pretty close to identical. Being able to cut into the woods, make this more of a disc golf flavor instead of just kind of chunking on a ball golf course, I like that feel a whole lot more.
And that is more than last year, as far as...
Unquestionably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. This feels more like a technical course than an open course, in my opinion. It can be challenging, especially depending on the conditions. But yeah, as long as you get out of the wooded holes, kind of safe and avoid the big numbers, I think you'll score well.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even seem like a ball golf course. I mean, I know we can recognize greens and sand traps, but if those are just artificial out of bounds in a park, it doesn't ring ball golf, which I think is to its credit, right?
Definitely. Like, this is not a one-dimensional course where distance defines your score.
No, not at all.
You got to find different ways to break holes down.
All right, every single hole has out of bounds. Is that too much out of bounds? Is it the right amount? Is it based on the course?
I think out here it's done very tastefully. Even on the wooded holes where they add out of bounds, I think most of the time it's like kind of defining the fairway so that you're in the right spot. I think it's done very well out here, but it is just kind of a bigger conversation in general, the use of artificial OB. Mm-hmm.
I'll be a dissenting opinion and say that there's too much out of bounds on the woods holes in particular. Give us scramble opportunities. That is universal across the Pro Tour. I'm tired of bringing my shot back to the fairway and taking a full stroke. I want to have the opportunity to scramble and save.
Yeah, I mean, there is the argument as well that if you throw a shot where you just miss by a little bit, but I just yak it, and we get an identical lie, I'm not being penalized for my bad shot the way I should be as well, right?
Yep.
So, I personally, on a hole-by-hole basis, I generally like the out-of-bounds here. There is a couple times where it's like you didn't need it because it's woods, but that's a small thing. I mean, I give the course an A. I love it. Final question. What's a 1,000 rated score out here if the conditions were good? Is it par, under par?
You got a fish.
Par is 63. I think you probably have to shoot 2 or 3 down for it to be 1,000, but that I may be overestimating it. If the wind is up, boy, who knows?
It's good, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really condition dependent. I would agree 2 to 3 for really solid conditions. I think hot round in good conditions is going to be 11 or 12.
It's possible.
I think throughout the weekend. But we are looking at wind, storms, rain. In those conditions, like 4 or 5 under is going to be a great score.
All right, now final question. I'm going to put you both on the spot. On Sunday, lead card, obviously it's the 3 of us. Who's the 4th player on the card with us on this course?
I'm going to give the nod to Isaac Robinson. I think with the technicality and the way, I mean, even on a ball golf course, he's just a great player at landing in the right spot. I think it's hard to bet against him.
Gannon Burr, last year's winner, riding the hot streak after Waco. Like to figure that I kind of think this becomes a putter's course. Like, who putts the best?
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of opportunities to get yourself 45, but not necessarily parked.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say I got to go with Calvin. I just feel like I'm unable to, at this point in the game, I can't pick against him. So, but again, as long as the 3 of us are on the card, I don't care who the 4th player is. We like everybody, so everyone's welcome to join us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
play with you guys.
It's great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.